Hello, hello. Thanks for joining me. Going to work small tonight. This is a 5x7 panel. And let me show you what we're doing here. I went out and picked a few daffodils that were blooming. We're getting snow right now, so I don't know what that's going to do to them. And they're in a little antique bottle that I had that has a green hue to it. I don't know if you can tell that or not. So I'm not painting that, I'm just painting this. But so it's simple. Although daffodils are not simple in my opinion, they can be pretty complicated to paint. I don't know if you've ever tried them or not, but they can be tricky. So that's what we're going for. Put a video on earlier. I drew 2 winners for my giveaway. So check that out if you haven't. All right, we're going to mix up just a very dark to do our sketch with. We're going to mix up ultramarine blue and transparent red oxide. And I'm going to use my view catcher. If you're not familiar with this, you adjust it with the size of your canvas and you look through there to set up your composition. So there are no measurements here for the 5x7, so I just kind of eyeball it to what I think looks about right, and I look through there to set up my composition. And you can use the handle of your brush to see where things line up. So we'll make some reference marks. I'll look through there and decide where I want it first on the canvas. Typically I don't try to exactly dead center things, so I'm going to try to pull it a little to the right. So I'm just making right now some reference marks. It'll go pretty high. And the bottle, instead of being going to be a little off center. Oops, I'm painting on my tripod. Let's get that bottle height. It's a little more than half, about there. There's lots of ways you could do this. You could, I've talked about that before, you can draw like circles as to where you want things to go, and just like placeholders, and sketch them within those. Or you can look at the outside negative shape, which I do look at that to get the shape of these things. So no wrong way, just take your time and get it on there where you want it first. I enjoy the sketching part of it too. Okay, I can tell already those proportions aren't right. If I go too high, I'd rather bring the bottle down a little lower. I don't want to run the flowers off. So yeah, we're just taking our time and placing things. Be a lot of spring flowers soon. Some people, that's all they do are flowers. I just do everything. I think try everything, figure out what you like to do and what you're good at. And the flowers are beautiful, and people, if your interest is selling or eventually selling, people do like flowers. I mean, let's face it, they're beautiful. I've heard it said before, and maybe you have, that if you have yellow in your painting, that's the color you should start with. And I usually I find that I usually do, you know, you want it clean. I'm going to be using my little scraper by Catalyst. I use that to remove paint in my sketching process, sometimes in my painting process. Maybe we're going to be running that quite a ways down. But don't rush this part of it, because if you don't get a decent sketch that's pretty, you know, correct, then your painting won't be. So take your time and enjoy this part of it. Yeah, our grass is already covered. We're kind of late to be getting this snow, but I don't think it's going to be a problem. My roads are warm, and I think it'll melt pretty quick. So we're doing a bottle, and sometimes to get things symmetrical, I'll go across the top like that. You know, and I can even, if I choose to, I could run the bottle off the bottom. Sometimes I'll end it and I'll do reflections down like that off the bottom. But I don't know at this point. And I did mean to pour some of that water out, because it's way up here in the neck, and I'd rather have it down in the bottle. So I may just pretend it goes down. And we got a shadow, but when you paint glass, the light goes through the glass, so it's not a solid shadow. One stem goes pretty much straight down, and one kind of goes off. The neck is really tight. Sometimes you need that, you know, to keep the flower supported. You have to go with a bottle that has a skinnier neck. Yeah, I'm going to want to keep this area pretty clean. Oops, I'm sorry about that. I got you right in front, so you're literally right in front of me. So what we'll do is what I always do. We'll mix up at least 3 values of yellow. And I'm going to want some of it a little warmer, leans a little toward orange probably. Probably more in the center there. And that's probably more paint that I'm going to want on that bottle. All right, so what I'm going to do now is mix up some different values in yellow. I mentioned this a while back. I had my daughter, she bought me for Christmas one of these headsets. It goes on your head and it holds your camera And I did try it, but it didn't work real well, because what you would see is what is above my eye view. That's it. It straps across your head. Really looks good. And so the camera is literally up on your forehead. At the time, I thought that might be kind of cool. I thought you will look where I'm looking, but it didn't work that way because it's higher than my eyes. So I don't know. We're still thinking about that. I just thought it would be kind of cool if you could, when I mix and paint, you'd be over here watching me mix paint. And I could bring you over and back and forth some. I'll bring you over. All right, let's tilt you down, see if we can get you low enough. I'm working out of my EZL. It's a box that sits on a tripod. I use it for plein air work, and that's what we're painting out of tonight. So even though this is quite the mess, I will clean it up. I do occasionally with a razor blade. I tend to work mostly with, I mentioned that over and over, with a limited palette, although tonight I've got some other things on here. That's my transparent red oxide, ultramarine blue, cobalt blue, cad yellow medium, cad lemon, cad red light, alizarin crimson, and white. And it's a real good idea to work with a limited palette. There are a few other things on here. I even threw a little phthalo on because I like that when the bottles lean toward blue-green. There's some yellow ochre. So I've got a bit of everything on here. So we look over at the flower, and what color is the flower? It's yellow. So I'm going to pull some yellow out. That's my cad yellow medium. And that's where we'll start, okay? I'm going to put some white in it. I'm going to pull some lighter. And we might even, to get the really intense lighter, we might even, here's lemon, which is my cooler yellow. You know, we might even throw some white into that and leave that set there. You know, we might use that even. Okay, into some of this, I want a little bit of cad red light. Like I said, I want to pull it a little orangier. That's the pure cad yellow medium. Like I said, we've got 3 values there now. Okay, and then I think I might even want to pull some of that a little bit darker. Some alizarin crimson over there on the side, the flower that's not catching much light. So as you can see, I don't have much paint here, so we may have to, you know, remix more. And then you can intermix those to pull other colors and values in too. So let's take you back over. Need a cameraman, don't I? Maybe one day when I'm rich and famous, right? That'll never happen, and it's really not my goal. I've mentioned it before, but a lot of artists see success as being gallery represented. And I was in a gallery for a little while, but that's not what I want. That's not my goal. I like dealing directly, selling directly to people. I don't want my artwork at that price point, because once you get gallery represented, they take 40 or 50%. And then you're up there, and you can't undercut them. So you've got to sell at that price. So you got to think about what you want. That's not, in my opinion, that's not always a sign of success. You know, selling your artwork is, of course, and you know, you decide what your goals are and what you want out of it. Okay, I'm going to look over here, and we're going to go after our lightest lights first, okay? I'm going to get a little, I have a little bit of solvent-free liquid that I use. And by the way, these are water mixable oils. They are good quality, mostly Cobra, water mixable oils. All right, now this may not look as bright as it's going to in the end because of the orange tone. But I'm going to go up here and place what I think are my lightest lights. And I'm trying not to play with it too much. I've been working, on good brush work too. That's important to me too. I want it to be painterly. I consider myself an impressionist. And I may decide when it's all said and done if this isn't light enough, and if so, we'll scrape it off and come back at it. But for now, you can't really tell till you get everything in. Surprising, this petal up here is darker. And the way I paint, some people would consider a block, and they would start this way and go much further. Just depends on your style and what you want your finished product to look at. I like impressionism, and I don't want to be too tight. All right, I think what we're going to do is mix up a little green. I'm blocking the stems. Top of the stems have kind of a straw color on them. And this down here is lighter, so we'll come back at that and lighten that up. All right, so let's think about the bottle now. Like I say, I like phthalo when I get into some of these old bottles, so I've taken some phthalo blue and white, set that to the side, and now I'm going to gray some of it down by throwing in some yellow and some red for the darker parts of the bottle that I see. All right, now let's look for the darker parts that we see of this bottle. And I'm bringing that neck down. It's longer than I've got it. wish I'd remembered to pour that water out. Like I said, right now that water level's way up here, and I prefer it to be down here. And I like to see what I'm painting. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go pour it out because I don't like making stuff up. So you wait right here, if you would. Where are you going to go, right? I'm going to pour some water out of it. Sorry about that. I just think it's more interesting. So, okay, let's see how close that is to what I had. Not too bad. I've turned the one that way a little bit, away from us a little bit, but I don't think that's too bad. Sorry, I put my mic back on here. Okay, sorry about that. I just don't like making up stuff. I like to try to paint what I see. And it's just easier for me. I poured it out to about there. You know, glass is, if it's clear glass, it's really about the reflections. So just try to paint what you see. We've got some reflections I'm going to have to. A little bit early for reflections, really. I mean, they should go on at the end, but we're just trying it. So let's move on. And one thing I didn't get in is that kind of color at the top that's kind of looks like straw. So let's throw some of that in. All right, we're going to mix up something with the back, and I would like it to lean, I want it to be gray, but I would like it to, I think, lean toward blue. Because I turned that, I can see some green on the bottom now. Yeah, it did kind of change the shape up a little bit, but all right. So let's again, let's mix up some gray. That again leans a cool gray. So with the three primaries, but more blue. So blue and yellow, of course, makes green. Get some red in there to kill the green, and then some white. All right, dip into some verse solvent. And we start looking at these shapes as we block this in. But I probably won't want to cover up all the orange. You know, and the top of them have that ruffled shape. Yeah, I may have to redo some of the petals because after I dumped out the water, the flowers are not in the exact same position they were. I'm not one to make up much stuff. I mean, if you have a lot of experience you could probably be more successful with it. But don't start out that way, in my opinion. You know, work from a photo or work from real life. When you make up stuff, a lot of times it looks made up, you know, right brain, left brain. They talk about, like, we all think we know what certain things look like, and it's just great to do it from life and really observe. Oops. I'm looking at this shadow that's here. It's not real dark, but it's a little darker, so I'm mixing some purple into this green. Usually what I do is I get the canvas covered so you can compare colors against colors and values against values. And then I come back and I see what adjustments I need to make. See, I left a lot of that orange peeking through, which I wanted to. A little bit of a brighter, more intense color there that's coming through the bottle. All right, let's go back to looking at those flowers. That's our focal point and the most important thing, and let's see. A lot of times with flowers, when I get toward the end, I use a palette knife and create some texture. I said down in here the stem's a little lighter. The sketch that we made, the darker line, I think really helps define that bottle. I like that. As you can see, when I did the top of that, I got a little unexpected color over there. And I kind of like it, so it may just stay. All right, we might about be there, I think. You know, if I pick and pick and pick at them, then I'm going to end up muddying things up, and I'm cutting into that a little bit, change the shape of that. All right, I'm looking to see if there's anything that I don't like. I might cut into this a little bit. See, we basically run the bottle off the bottom, which is fine. Like I said, sometimes I'll stop it up here and then run a reflection down. Even if I don't see it, it can be interesting. All right, it's been 42 minutes. And I'll look at it and decide. I mean, I didn't do them all solid yellow. We've got some oranges in there and some variations in color. I think we'll just run that down. And I got some of the yellow into the background there, which is fine too. Still got some extra paint here. I'm kind of throwing it on. Ask me any questions anytime. Feel free to do that. I'm happy to help any way I maybe can. I mentioned when the weather gets better, I do like to paint outside, so hopefully take you with me doing that. Sometimes I paint in the car even. I like it. It's quiet, just me, and you're not fighting wind or bugs, or because plein air can be very challenging. Okay, well, it's not bad. I'll look at it and decide if I want to make any changes. I haven't went back to my shoes yet, but I do have some little tweaks to do to them. So thanks for joining me. Again, welcome to my new subscribers. I'm so happy to be growing, and I love what I'm doing. I hope you enjoy watching. All right, hit the notification bell if you didn't do that, and it will tell you when I've uploaded new videos too. All right, you have a great evening, and watch for me next time. Good night.